Okay, I'm calling the Sherborn Conservation Commission meeting of May 16th, 2024 to order here with a roll call of who's attending from the commission. Michael Lesser present, Courtney,
Eck present.
Jacob,
Jacob Strauss present.
Steve,
Present. Steve present. Sorry, Steve Scrimshaw present.
thank you. Kurt,
Kurt Stiegel present.
Terry,
Terry Luskin present.
and I don't see Matt unless somebody's coming in on the telephone there. So, okay. Get a little bit Matt. Okay. Reviewing the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added based on the 48-hour rule? Okay. Then we'll stay with the agenda as we have it. I will now let's see here. I'm gonna go get it open. A little bit late here. We're behind Coolidge Street. Okay. I'm now going to open up a new hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission of the Town of Sherborn will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology at 7:23 on the 16th day of May, 2024. This notice of intent hearing will be held pursuant to Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws as amended, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 17, to consider a proposal by the applicant's representative, Dan McIntyre, for converting existing lawn area to a patio and landscape area within the 50-foot wetland buffer zone at 10 Coolidge Street, map 10, lot 0/11. This application is available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Office. All persons desiring to be heard will be given the opportunity to speak at this hearing. Do we have all the green cards and everything else? Joyce?
Yes, we have all the green cards.
Okay, so all the stuff is there then. Okay, then I'll let you, I see the owners here. Hi, Matt, and
Yeah,
Dan,
sure. I could.
present whoever's presenting.
All right, Dan McIntyre representing the homeowners at 10 Coolidge. The homeowner, Matt Beavers, is also on the line.
Mhm.
Matt is proposing to do some improvements in his backyard, as you mentioned. Let's see, I could share the screen here. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
So this is the site plan of 10 Coolidge Street. Coolidge Street is just off the sheet at the bottom of the page. The existing house is right here in the middle. We had the wetlands delineated by Goddard Consulting, and they pretty much wrap around the side here and then around the back. The existing lawn area in the backyard is grass. Matt is proposing to put in a brick patio, a pervious brick patio, and a reflecting pool, and then some planting landscape islands around the patio. We're proposing to put erosion controls around the limit of work and a temporary stockpile in the back here. When complete, we'll have the patio. All the disturbed areas will be restored as lawn, except whatever is planting beds. Just to give you some idea, this is what the backyard looks like now. Looking toward the house, so the patio would be right in this area here where those chairs are. And this is a view of what the patio would look like. It's at several levels. This is the brick patio coming off the existing deck steps over here. The reflecting pool and a little deck here is raised up. And then there's a step down to a fire pit here. And it was designed to try to go with the existing grades of the yard, where we keep them about the same grade here. And as it slopes down toward the wetland by the fire pit steps down and kind of works with the grades. One thing that came up today, we got some comments from Joyce about potential mitigation, since we are working in the 50-foot no disturb buffer. It is 100% disturbed now. The patio is about 1,300 square feet. About 850 of that is within the no disturb area. And about 450 of that is in the 50 to 100-foot buffer. What we were proposing to do is create a no-mow area in the back here, which is closer to the wetlands, is about 1,000 square feet beyond the existing swing set, that we could just stop mowing there. And we think that would just revegetate naturally as mitigation for working in the no disturb area here. We don't expect any change in the hydraulics or the hydrology. As I mentioned, this is a pervious patio. Any increase in runoff from this would sheet flow into the existing lawn and infiltrate in. Construction access is going to be off the existing driveway here. They'll be using part of the paved driveway as lay down for material storage to put the bricks and things. No tree removal is required for this, although as we plant the screening hedge over there, there'll probably be some trimming of the existing wooded area here to get those in. And other than that, I think we could turn it over for questions, unless you want to add anything, Matt.
No, I think that summarizes it pretty well.
I think I do want to mention one other thing. The one of the spot grades we put on the plan is incorrect. That should be 182. So we've got the patio here is about 181, stepping down to 180 in the fire pit, and then the reflecting pool is up at about 182. So with that, we can turn it over for questions.
Okay, Joyce,
Dan,
do,
I
yeah.
just have a couple questions. Dan, did you say that the pavers for the patio, you're going to use pervious pavers?
Well,
I mean, you said it's going to be pervious.
the
so
pavers are
pervious
going to be
paver?
brick, but the joints in between are pervious, so it's semi-pervious patio. It's not a concrete patio.
Okay. I'll leave it to the commission now.
do you have other issues, questions? Joyce?
No, he answered a lot of my questions already. Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, some of you, I didn't make the site visit, but what do others have questions?
I have a question, Steve. When we visited the site, it looked like you would need some fill for the reflecting pool and patio. And we were talking as if maybe you wouldn't need the fill. So do you need fill to make that the right kind of structure?
Well, the reflecting pool is really going to be in the ground a couple feet and out of the ground a couple feet. So that's kind of a wash here. This will be raised up, so there will be fill underneath this patio here. But it's kind of a retaining wall around here for the planting bed. So we're not really changing the yard grade that much with respect to kind of the general area. But yeah, there'll be fill underneath this patio here. There'll be an excavation for the reflecting pool. And there'll be kind of a general excavation for the patio to take out the top and subsoil and put in a gravel base for the pavers.
Okay,
Is the fill gonna come from off-site, or are you gonna just reuse soil from the patio?
I think it's gonna be a combination of both. The gravel base under the patio will have to be imported. And there'll be some gravel underneath the reflecting pool so it doesn't settle. And I think most of the top and subsoil is gonna have to be hauled off. It's gonna be an excess amount there.
You're not bringing any new soil on as opposed to gravel and stone.
Correct.
Okay. Steve, do you have other questions?
well, just, is that temporary stockpile area for, what's that for?
That is for when they strip all the top and subsoil. They'll probably put it there. And then they'll use a portion of that to kind of redress the area up once the patio's in. And then whatever's left over will be hauled off site.
Okay,
Questions from other commissioners?
I've got two questions. One is in the no mow area. Would it make sense to help ensure that gets set up with native plants and especially in terms of invasives management and perhaps adding plantings there? And then the other one is in the main part of the landscaping areas. Or I was looking at the version of the plan from today. I don't see any notes about whether those are all natives and or if that's going to be reviewed later or something of that form.
Well, I'll take the first one. I think Matt has some information on the plants themselves, but most of those are ornamentals. Over in the no mow area, we think that the hydrology over there is pretty good for just letting that grow back naturally. Okay, see, we're right next to the wetlands. You walk over there during certain times of the year, your feet get kind of squishy. I think if we just stop mowing that, the natural vegetation that surrounds that lawn area would just come back without any supplemental landscaping.
I'm gonna
well,
follow on that because was my very same question that Jacob raised. If when you say no mow, are you thinking that succession will take over? It will go to forest? Because invasives would be my major concern if there is absolutely no mowing.
Well, it could certainly be monitored for invasives as it starts to revegetate.
I
Yeah.
think we asked for that in other cases to monitor for invasives and maybe just specify like some hand removal.
Right, that's what we've done before.
I'm sure the homeowner doesn't want a massive bittersweet coming up there.
I
so.
do not.
Yeah. I'm sure he can keep eye on it.
I can comment on the plantings around the pool area. We don't have a finalized list. I did specify with the landscaper that we use all natives in there. I think they'll be sort of more on the ornamental end of things, but that is our plan. I think the only thing we've decided is a sort of an eastern dogwood at the corner there for one tree that we're going to add in. But everything else we plan to do native plantings.
Perfect.
And
Have
we're
there
happy
been-
to, once we have a final list, we're happy to sort of come back with it too to the agent or whatever we need to do.
Had there been any thought about providing some kind of a buffer between the patio and the wetlands? Dan specifies that you're going to plant grass seed back there, but this is a lot of activity in the 50 foot, and again, it is previously disturbed, but there's no, you're not proposing to do any plantings or any, anything either in the no-mow area or between the patio and the wetlands?
Well, we just talked about the no-mow area. We weren't proposing anything over there. I think
But is
you were
there,
talking
I
about
mean,
this
is there a
area here,
reason,
Joyce.
is there a reason why though? Is that you're not putting in a tree or two or something that, as as this is a lot of activity in the 50-foot. We just want to be sure that we're providing the proper amount of mitigation.
There's not a ton of space there, sort of between, like, we don't have a ton of lawn there already between sort of the edge of the house and the wetland, sort of where the edge of the forest is on that side, and there's a pretty steep slope in there. I think we're open to sort of conversations about things, and I think it's existing sort of lawn on that slope. It's mostly moss. But I think there just isn't, sort of, in order to keep access to the bulkhead around the back and swing that around, there just isn't a ton of space over there, which is why we hadn't proposed doing a lot.
Well, I think to Joyce's point, it is lawn, so it's an altered area, but lawn is a pervious surface, and we're putting more impervious surface. And I think during the site visit, like what you said, it's clear that it slopes down towards the wetland. And it is a narrow space, so, but it would be good to put something, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but something to add to the kind of like filtration capacity, so that, water coming off the patio area, like, has additional plantings to help filter going into the wetlands area. And I don't necessarily think we need something crazy, but that would be beneficial in that area.
I mean, I'm open to suggestions to what would work in there for sure.
Other commissioners have more comments before I go? Okay. Yeah, I mean, in terms of mitigation, right, I agree with what some others have said about the fact that there's a lot of activity there and there's a lot more impervious surface. That I appreciate that, let's see, the permanent disturbance is about 1,000 square feet in the 0 to 50. And I guess it's a total of about 1,500, almost 1,500 square feet in the buffer zone. The 1,000 foot area over there is a mix, some inner buffer. Oh yeah, let me ask a quick question. Joyce, did you check the wetland lines that were off-site? Are you able to do that?
I looked at the line. I did not look over towards the no-mow area. I looked at the wetland line adjacent to the project.
Okay,
I can look at it. I can. I didn't because there at the time there was no activity over there.
right.
I don't think the no. I'm not as worried about the wetland line with the no-mow area.
Yeah, all right. I see what you mean. I see that, yeah, it would be nice to get a little more mitigation for the activity, given how much is in the inner buffer. And it does get tricky. That obviously was lawn, but and some of the alteration is, right, one could say you're going back to landscaping there around the patio area. But I could see the plantings. So are there barrier rocks? So you're putting, for the markers on the no-mow is just barrier rocks. And the question is that we can condition how it grows back. Not quite sure if we want some plantings there or not. That I'm a little up in the air on. But I guess the area that Courtney was talking about along the side of the, and Joyce Yeah, I wasn't there to see how much of the area between the, let's say, the fire pit and the wetlands there could be sort of protected there with whether you're willing to put in some plantings that would sort of form more of a barrier, basically to reinforce the buffer zone there.
Mhm.
Is that,
Kind of, we're talking about right in here.
yeah, I'm trying to think about a little more protection there. And even, right, I guess the circle, the green wavy line, I guess, is sort of a tree line.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know whether some, and I guess that big one tree, what is that one thing back there?
It looks pretty, you know, looks like there's a pretty good understory in there now before it reaches the wetland.
Oh, I guess I wasn't there.
I'm not sure how much we can really add in there.
I guess I wasn't sure the way others were talking. What do you think, people who were on site?
You want to try a bite?
Yeah, not right now.
Okay, well, I don't like it. So
Yeah, Matt, we don't like
Yeah.
it.
Hey,
Nope.
Matt, watch out.
I
Noise.
think we need more plant material on that dropping off segment
Okay.
where your cursor is running.
Right in here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think it needs to be extensive. It is a narrow space, but I think it would be helpful. I don't know if you put, and it doesn't even have to be like large shrubs or something, you know, just something like along that line.
Some native buffer zone shrubs there.
I think so, but I'm
Shrubs, grasses, something with a decent root system.
Questions, what'll grow there? I guess, as I think Matt was saying, it's, or Dan. And I guess, I don't know what you've done there now, other than it's just,
Yeah, I mean, not a lot grows there right now. I mean, it was the prior owners were lawn. We've not been as strict about maintaining it. It's mostly just sort of wet and mossy right now. I'm fine trying to get something in there. I think we've just struggled with figuring out what.
So in Pushki, it doesn't need to be that much different than what you're putting around the backside of the deck. You have an expectation that the shrubs that you're planting around there are going to survive. This really isn't that much of a different habitat. The goal is really just to provide a better buffer. I mean, you're within 25 feet of with your fire pit of the wetlands. And so there's no real need to put lawn on that backside.
No, agreed. So if we're talking about that area sort of right around the fire pit, I think that's doable. Back closer to the house is where I worry more because the slope is just steeper there. But in that area right around the fire pit, we can certainly extend the planting area around that. And we can fit some smaller things in there for sure.
We talking about something like right in here.
No, in the lawn itself, then. Not under the. I think I see what you're saying now. Not under the tree cover, Dan, but in the lawn itself.
I mean, can I ask you whether,
Sort of the area that's within the limit of work
Yeah.
Is that
around the front of it.
Is this what we're talking about? Matt's concerned about this area down here.
Yep.
We don't really want to plant anything there. But I think this area here, closer to
Sort
the
of
well.
between the well and the fire pit, I think we can put things in there or in
Yeah.
the space sort of in the existing lawn between where the fire pit will be and the tree line there. Or, you know, if we need to pull the fire pit back in a little bit and put some plantings there, we could try to find a way to do that too.
is there I'm just gonna bring up a bigger issue of whether we're gonna close the hearing tonight or whether you're in a, I don't know what your schedule is, Matt, for doing this, or whether we can just sort of refine this a little on site rather than through this paper exercise. And whether we just
Right.
could do it on site as opposed to this, and whether we can then close the hearing at the next meeting.
I
I
mean,
think Joyce made some good points about just adding some of the we're putting some bushes in that planting here. If we took some more of those and scattered them around this area here.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of deciding how many.
Right.
I don't, I think we could still close this tonight. I think it's literally a matter of just agreeing on where we want to pop a few more shrubs.
Okay.
I
Well-
mean, Joyce, I feel like maybe we're all talking about slightly different spots where we imagined the
Well,
like extra shrubs would go.
I guess in my mind, it would be extending ex well, Dan's drawn a red circle over there, but why doesn't I mean, can't you combine it with the, like, just landscape around the fire pit, even if it extends out to the well, but extend the landscaping that you're doing.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fine. Do you mind zooming in a little
I-
bit, Dan? It's tiny on my screen, sorry.
That. Oh, it's
Do you mind
tiny.
just zooming in a little bit?
So when we were on site, the things we talked about were, the area. You talked about the area the Nanomo area. That's one that you captured, and that's great. But you also talked about if you start where the rock is on the bottom of the,
Right
just
here.
kind of wrapping from there, wrapping around the wood line,
Mhm.
and then up to where you're at, up to where the top of the one you've already drawn, just capture that area there to provide a buffer. I think that's,
Yeah.
that helps.
That makes sense.
I think
Okay.
so too, to have it be contiguous along that sort of slope down to the wetland portion.
So we're
Yeah.
talking about something like,
Keep going, but go back up to the top of the one you've already drawn. Yep.
yep,
And then just
Yeah,
kind of
include the
just kind
red
of blend it in
potato.
now to the other landscape area.
or something like that.
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't think like, I think you can put in whatever native plants that you want, similar to how you've done the other landscaping around the patio and the plunge pool. I don't think we need to specify like you must put in a winterberry holly.
Good, because the deer will eat that.
Yeah, I know. I
Because I have spent more money on winterberry hollies to feed deer than I want to comment on.
don't do that. Yeah.
That's so nice of you. The, right, we basically, well, we can also have just a condition that he gives us a plant list later. And that we go over that to get it approved with by the agent or somebody here, so that we can leave as a way to condition it. I guess the
well,
issue
yeah.
is the issue is sort of a, I guess that square footage area there is, I guess it's a matter of whether, right, we agree on that area and then what's the number of plants, or whether some sort of thing there of small, how do we come up with numbers?
And do you have those specified in some way on the plan, like this many shrubs or these are shrubs or?
Well, that's what Matt's working on now. We don't have the exact
Okay.
number specified.
So you just put in some pretty circles there.
Well,
Some-
I think the quantity is right.
Okay, so I think if we put
Yeah.
that sort of arrangement and just continue it around the fire pit in some combination of those circles,
Okay.
it's a-okay.
Are the bigger ones trees and the smaller ones shrubs?
So I
Well,
think
big-
that
ahead.
one, yeah, that one there, Dan, is going to be a tree.
Yep.
And then the ones sort of immediately behind are going to be sort of larger shrubs, and then everything else is sort of a mix of smaller shrubs and grasses.
Right. I like something like that would be fine.
When you say grasses, what were you gonna put underneath the landscaping?
What's that?
What were you gonna put around the landscaping when you say?
Well,
grass?
leaf, I mean, it's going to be leaf mulch in the bed.
See, he knows the right answers.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm glad. Um,
I've played this game before. No, I'm just kidding.
It's,
I have a quick question. Are you hoping to walk from the fire pit area, that little terrace or whatever it is, out into the back of to the swing, so that does there need to be a little walkway?
I don't know that there has to be. We're fine to access that around the other side.
Okay, just curious in your plans. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if you look at our pattern of use now, I think most people are going from the deck sort of straight across, and now it would just be sort of walking around the pool and straight out to the back that way. Like I said, it's sort of, we don't walk over here a lot because it's under the tree cover and it's sloped down and it's sort of out of the way. So I think we're fine to just totally close that off.
Will
Okay.
there be enough future access to where the well is today? Should it need things or large things getting near it?
I mean, if we need large things to get to the well now, they have to come around that side of the house where the construction access is anyway, because we can't,
that'll still
otherwise
work.
you're driving over the leach field in front.
Okay, and that'll still work. Okay.
I just want to do an administrative thing. Is anybody attending? I see some guests. Is anybody attending about 1 Knollwood Lane? Okay, well, if in case somebody is, that hearing is going to be continued. So we're running over the time when we would start that, but since that one's going to be continued, we're just going to continue it to the next meeting. But okay, let's go back to discussing this, and then we can deal with that after we finish this.
I do have a bit of a question. Dan, earlier you said, with regard to where the yellow outlined new area of native plantings is, you said you didn't want to get too close, basically, to kind of that right-hand side looking at this map toward the house. Help me understand what was in your thinking about that, so I know why we're not continuing this encapsulation a little bit all the way.
That's Matt's access to the bulkhead over here to get into the basement. So we
Uh-huh.
didn't really want to block that off.
Can you give me a sense of scale of that narrowest part? Basically, if you see where the steps are down from the deck, just to the right seems to be the narrowest choke point of the pervious pavers. What's an idea of the dimension there?
I think that's about a 3-foot wide walkway right through here.
Mm-hmm.
It comes over in here. I mean, we could certainly, we got this tree here. We could kind of work it that way there and
That looks good.
eliminate a little more lawn in here if you'd like.
Yeah, if I had all my Master Gardener druthers, I'd see that yellow sliding pretty much to wrap around that semi-pervious area. That's pretty substantial. Because the no mow part is, of course, marvelous. But it's really the sort of the change in the water picture with the patio itself that I think probably wants some good thinking. Okay.
Okay, so we've, whoops. Are you going to include that extra little thing there or not?
I don't know.
Nice try. Well, it depends on.
So I'm sorry, where are the limits now of the garden?
What do you think, Matt? Can you
Yeah,
give
I mean,
this
at
up,
some
or-
point I'm happy to plant it all, but there is a limit to the budget.
Right.
Absolutely. And I'm
and,
going to
I
say,
can,
as shady as that is, you won't be able to use the same plant material
yeah.
right there in the shade of the trees that you will in the more open portion by the pool.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I'm happy to make it not lawn. I think some of my concern on that side is just both the shade and the degree of slope there is getting anything to survive.
There
right.
are shade grasses to be had.
Yeah, I mean, we can
will
do
tolerate
grasses
the
or something
slope.
there. That's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. Or like
maybe
a wildflower mix or something that'll handle on the slope. I mean, I think we could do something like that.
you could probably throw some ferns in there and then
Yeah,
never
that'd be
have to
fine.
do that area again.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm more worried about trying to plant a shrub on that slope that it just isn't going to survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's some ferns and some more native grasses over there, I think we could potentially do that. Yeah, to be honest, we may have to stage some of it just from a budget standpoint, because I can't, like, if I could do this first and then do the rest later, that'd be fine, but I sort of can't like dig a utility trench and leave it there for 6 months. So I've got to stage it in some way, but I think we're happy to, I mean, I think I mentioned when you were there, part of the goal here is less lawn. Like, I want less lawn. Like, that really is where I want to end up here. So we're happy to extend that around. I think as long as there's some flexibility in what we plant, then we're okay with it.
Yes, we could just put a condition that we have to come to some agreement as to what you plant there when you get around to that.
I think
We have some
we-
guidelines about what
we
it
just
is.
usually said native, and the final list can be approved by the agent.
And the density issue, I mean, often we go to try to just at least get some basic numbers or density of plantings. Since I guess we're extending
Well-
it, how we,
Well,
what are you
oh,
gonna
go
say?
ahead.
No, go.
I was gonna say, if Dan basically copy pasted some of those little shrub and tree clusters and put them in the yellow area, and then I think if uh, um, Matt plugs in, some ferns along the
Right,
side there where it's steep. And honestly, I think as long as the ferns are, they'll fill in eventually. It's not,
Mhm.
I don't think there needs to be anything crazy about density there, especially depending on whatever kind of ferns he uses.
right. I mean, it's more a matter that there is some ground cover there, not
Right.
just a leaf mulch.
Well, right now there's
Others.
moss. There's
Right.
moss, so he can.
Yeah, I can't tell what moss does for filtration and whatever else, actually.
Well, I want to speak up for moss a little bit. It's a little underappreciated, and I think, it seems like it's actually a nice little moss area there. I don't know if that's good enough for stability of the soil, but I don't think it's horrible.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, that spot's going to get disturbed from the
Yeah,
construction.
this is gonna be disturbed, so we gotta do something back here to stabilize it.
right,
Okay, well, then it would be ferns, sedges might be another thing,
Mhm.
rushes.
Right?
Yeah,
sedges, yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can put something that spread, like, I'm not gonna say hate scented fern because I'm never getting rid of that at my house, and it's also not as good for a wet shady spot. But like, there's ferns that you can like put in just a couple of little tiny stragglers of it, and it'll just fill up the whole area and be pretty.
I mean, that's what's sort of naturally growing right at the tree line border there anyway. So like, I'm fine to encourage it along.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, if we're trying to close the hearing tonight, if that's what people feel,
I think so.
we get there. Then we will, this lovely map here with the yellow will be, I guess we'll get a revised plan with some shrubs. And as well as the fact that the ground cover there will be some sort of ferns or sort of grasses that could just grow, or sedges or grasses that can grow and be unmanaged, basically. And we have the no-mow area that I would say probably in terms of square footage, we've got, I think, a reasonable mitigation ratio. And then we have this issue of markers. And I guess there are markers on the in the no-mow area on some rocks, I guess, if I remember correctly, if you slid the screen around.
Well, we were proposing, a marker over here, down by the bulkhead, one up by the well, and then one over by the swing set, over by the no mow area.
And the rocks are gonna be placed there. You have some rocks in mind. Is that what I see there?
Yeah, we were thinking about just a few, not a continuous rock wall, but
Right,
There's some rock spaced across there.
so it'll be fairly clear.
Yes,
That, and a marker could just be put on a rock even. Okay, so that's demarcated, the area in the, I guess on the, where the tree line is, to the north of the house, up on the upside of the house, directly to the back. That is that tree line the limit of the lawn?
Yes.
The area there, is that tree line the limit of lawn?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we could put what do you think of, just to make sure that the lawn doesn't expand for the ongoing, whether to put one marker on a convenient tree in that area?
yeah, we can do that somewhere right in here.
Yeah, somewhere there, just to be clear, since that's already still in the 50-foot buffer zone. And let's see, the other markers. I guess I don't know what others think about other markers, where all the new yellow is. What do we need anything there?
I think it's pretty much a straight shot. When you're on the site, it's pretty much like a straight shot along that side. So I think it's
I think it's sufficient
straight
already with
line
this.
between
Okay.
the markers that they've proposed. So I don't really have a problem with it.
Okay, so we've got the markers. We've got the mitigation areas and the sort of the no-mow that, or basically there'll be a condition about the no-mow area, or I guess in general, to hand pull invasives. Keep it clean of that. There'll be a condition, I guess, if we see any erosion, let's say around the patio going into the buffer, that'll have to get addressed.
Michael, quick question. Do you establish a sort of a window of time for the sort of observation and invasive management? Or is that unnecessary?
Well, we've done it sometimes in perpetuity and sometimes not. And I guess it gets a little hard to do it in perpetuity, since a lot of buffer zone is riddled with invasives. It's hard to necessarily force that requirement. I don't know whether there's a way to word that.
Is Terry, are you really just asking sort of how established does everything have to be before before we would do a certificate of compliance?
Yeah, and in addition, beyond that, whether I just don't know sort of what the sort of habitual approach is, especially with all the other conversations that we're hearing about other parts of town where, we're trying to manage invasives more in kind of land trust areas or, reservations and so forth.
Well-
Whether just consistency requires something or not. It just feels as though that would be fair to the homeowners to let them know what we're going to expect of them and just let them know from the get-go.
Well,
What?
we've,
Oh.
there's a 2-year growing season for things, whether to get the certificate of compliance,
Mhm.
that would be a checkpoint as to what we do beyond that for invasives management in areas that we don't want managed. I don't know if we've ever done that in perpetuity, given the difficulty of that.
Yeah. That was why I raised the question, because I don't know how that works most appropriately.
I don't know, what were you gonna say, Courtney?
I was gonna say, I don't know that we've put a requirement for control in perpetuity, but I mean, we can put things in there like you can pull invasives.
Right,
You can do hand control of invasives here if you want.
right.
But certainly during the period of establishment and making sure the plantings survive and that nothing gets overrun, definitely during the 2-year survival and when they go to file for a certificate of completion, that seems very reasonable to be like, keep it
Yeah,
under
but-
control.
yeah. I don't know what it's gonna be like. I mean, we never know when we leave a lawn like that in the no-mow area to go. Who knows what's gonna come in?
Exactly what's in the soil bank.
I assume it's just regular turf grass there now?
It's also mostly moss
Oh,
out in that corner. It's shady and wet, and turf grass doesn't grow well. There is some turf grass, but it's mostly moss.
okay, so we'll, nice to leave the moss alone, and we'll see what happens. And just have the invasives management in that area.
All right.
What are the conditions? So we're gonna plantings in in that new yellow areas. We're gonna have shrubs of some density in the top area and some sort of ferns and ground cover of some sort of sedge in the bottom area. Obviously, you can have sedges and other things in the top area around the shrubs that you could do. What else do we want? Do we want to specify any density or just assume that it's like at least
Right.
one shrub per every 36 square feet kind of like thing?
No, we're specifying the same density as in the other landscaping around the plunge pool.
Okay. Fine. Does that work for you, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we can fit, in that. I mean, the way it's drawn now, it's similar density. We fit 3 or 4 shrubs in that upper area, and then smaller stuff surrounding the patio, and then the sedges and ferns on that lower area. I think that works for us.
Okay. And on the other side, okay, no, oh, you're in the 100-foot zone, even where you're doing that other landscaping. Geez, you really are in the buffer.
Yeah.
Those plants along on the driveway side.
So,
Yeah,
I think if you scroll down, Dan. So I think those plants along the house there will be similarly similar. The one furthest to the bottom of the page is existing. But those up above that, above the fence line, that's all lawn. And so those will be all new native shrubs. The screening plants, to be honest, I may skip at this point, and focus my efforts on the other side. That's all sort of tree line over there anyway.
yeah, I see what you mean.
I think that makes just prioritizing sense.
Yeah.
To worry more about that wetland side, just as a priority, and then do the rest as pleases you down the road.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay. Do we have any other conditions? We're gonna get a new set of plans. Okay, so do we think we're prepared to just close the hearing?
Not until we ask for public comment.
Yes. Anybody with comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, I move to close the hearing on 10 Coolidge Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I, Jacob,
Hi.
Steve,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Okay. So I assume we're gonna have, I guess we don't have findings. No, I'm left with the little scramble there. That I will, I'll move I'll move that this project can go ahead as conditioned during the hearing. And therefore won't have any adverse impact on the wetlands. And there is appropriate mitigation for creating new areas that'll go more natural from existing lawn area, and sufficient mitigation for this. How's that for a motion without having anything written?
Second.
Thank you. I guess that's approval.
It was good enough, Jacob, so.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jacob, oops, I already asked you, Courtney,
Bye.
Terry.
Hi.
Hope I haven't missed anybody. Okay. We will, you'll give us new plans
Yes,
as possible, and we'll get an order of conditions out.
thank you very much.
Okay, I guess we're,
And get your plunge pool.
Thanks, everybody.
what you do, yes. Okay, I am now opening the hearing, the new hearing for 1 Knoll Crest Farm Lane. Did they give us green cards and everything? Can we even open
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess I should read something, but since I'm opening the hearing and then continuing it. Excuse me, everybody. Okay, notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission of the Town of Sherborn will hold a virtual public hearing using Zoom technology at now 8:13 on the 16th day of May 2024. This notice of intent hearing will be held pursuant to the Sherborn Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 17, to consider a proposal by the applicant's representative, Robert Truax, for the construction of a single-family dwelling with on-site sewage system, driveway, and related grading with an isolated wetland to the rear of the site. At 1 Knoll Crest Farm Lane, map 3, lot 82. This application is available for viewing at the Sherborn Conservation Office. All persons desiring to be heard will be given an opportunity to speak at this hearing. Okay, the hearing's open. We have the green cards. The applicant is asked to continue the hearing to the next meeting. I guess at this point, is this the only, have you verified the wetlands, Joyce, and that this is the only wetland, or have the wetlands been verified? And that this is the
No,
only
the wet-
wetland?
No,
No, not been done yet.
nothing has been resubmitted since the site walk.
Okay, so we have to,
So they've asked to continue the hearing.
okay, but we still have to verify the wetland line and whether
Correct.
that's the only resource present. So that's still a task for us. Unless they, I guess, are they first submitting a new plan that might have a different delineation?
Yeah, I think you just have to continue it.
Okay, fine. What time are we continuing to?
So
Don't say 10 PM.
no, I think this is, are we doing, the forest people at the next meeting?
I guess we could do, that won't be long. We could do them at the very beginning.
All right, so they would be 7:20.
Yeah, the 7:20 probably only needs about 15 minutes at most.
Okay. All right, so 7:35.
Okay,
You say 15 minutes, so 7:35.
Yeah.
Let's continue this till 7:35.
okay, I move to continue this hearing on 1 Knoll Crest Farm Lane to June 6th, 2024 at 7:35.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Terry,
Terry, you were muted, but I saw an
Aye.
eye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Jacob.
Aye.
Okay. Hearing's been continued. Let's see. It's now 8. Okay, we got a few more minutes. To Maple Street. Let's see what else we have here. Let's do the, do you have any side issues? Joyce?
No, there were AAs though.
Yeah. I see, I guess whether we have to read them into the record here of, are they all outside of jurisdiction?
Yes.
Okay. For the record, we have 115 Lake Street. Update for replacement septic system, 0 Washington Street for soil testing, 41 Elliott Street for a deck, 20 Jackson Road for septic connection, 0 Washington Street, a new construction of a house, septic and well, 81 Prospect for soil testing, 58 Mill Street for a deck, 35 Brush Hill Road for replacement of a septic system, 6 Curve Street, replacement of a septic tank, and 13 Mill for replacement of a septic system. We also have tree removals that were approved. Farm Road, removal of 2 trees for beaver damage, and at 80 Maple Street, 4 dead trees. Okay, there was a warrant that was in the box there that everybody could see. I haven't looked at it. It's empty.
Actually,
Is there a warrant?
I don't, there was a warrant, but that folder is empty.
Okay, well, we'll have to look at that warrant next time.
I will, well, I'll put it in while you're all.
Okay, then we have the agent issue that's on the agenda, running through the agenda. That, let's see here. We have made an offer to someone to become the assistant agent and be trained by Joyce. There's been some back and forth, and we're supposed to hear a decision about it tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Could say more about it after that, due to some confidentiality issues for the HR issue. So that's where that is. The affordable housing projects. There's not much more. We're doing Washington Street homes. We will have to work on for the next meeting, but I heard that there's some meetings going on about whether something would change. So I think things are a little in abeyance. I'll have to check on that before we do much more work on Washington Street homes. Any announcements? I guess there are no minutes. Are there any announcements anybody has? Okay. Looks like we finished everything except for our 2 hearings. Okay, I am now reopening the continued public hearing of DEP file number 283-449 for 191 Maple Street, map 2, lot 111, for proposed addition to a single-family dwelling. Okay, we are now getting back to that, and she's still here. There you go. I guess there's been some back and forth. How do we want to start with this? Joyce and Ashish.
Go ahead, Joyce, if you have something.
One moment, I'm trying to bring up the plans.
Oh, do you want me to? Are you okay?
Thank you.
So you've had some back, Nick, if you wouldn't mind, Michael.
Okay.
You have kind of a unique situation where you've been working with a professional to provide us with additional information, and it seems like the line of communication between you and your consultant is no longer open. And we left with some issues with respect to how do we eliminate the 2 connections to the wetlands that your sump pumps were discharging directly into the wetlands, and how we would eliminate that, move that out into the open lawn area. And that's about the time either they stopped working with you or you stopped working with them, and we have been waiting on a revised proposal to do that.
Correct. From my point of view, I was hoping there is a communication happening, but looks like there was not. So I apologize for that because I thought someone being Karen or was communicating with the department. If that was not the case, it's a shame. I did send a document to you guys for it to review that I had created. Nothing very concrete on it with respect to the big fancy plans that everyone was looking at. This was created in the last meeting which I joined. We had pointed out 3 or 4 things that we wanted to address, and I have made a note out of all those problems that have to be addressed, and happy to fix on all of them, even though things have been grandfathered based on when I bought the house, but absolutely fine to do that. So I wanted to go through this document and see if this makes sense and what else do I need to do to help to improve it. So if you go a bit down on the second page, this one, the first thing was to remove the shed. So if you see, the shed is here, and if you see, the new location of the shed is the orange piece, which is way further, 400 feet down, 400 feet away from the wetlands, from the other side of the house. That's the first thing. No problem. It was a mistake that was kept there. So happy to move it. No problem. I've got a contractor who's going to come try to lift it up the way we have to without disturbing anything and move it. So, but I've not done anything. I'm just proposing what I'm saying. Second piece that was proposed by you guys was removing the gravel and small stones. If you see all this gravel and small stones on the right side of the house, I've just put stupid images. Please, in one below. This one.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yes,
was just
this
talking
one.
about this area here.
No,
I'm just, yeah.
Yes, exactly that area. The one that was gravel in there, it has been there since I bought the house, but no problem. I can get all that gravel moved away, and all the native plants that have to be planted can be planted on all of this area without any question. So I mentioned that as point number 2. Point number 3 was the collection of, I can come to point number 3 after, if we can go to point number 4, keep going down. Yes, this was point number 4, where you wanted me to not touch or cut the grass of the area that is close to the wetlands. Absolutely fine. I have marked 8 to 12 feet of land across the wetlands, straight going down almost to the whole property, which there is no mowing happening, and it is going to grow as is without any question. Not touching that part of the land. And that was the point number 4. And going one more down.
Oh.
Sorry. Yes, sorry. That was the last one. Yes. Yes. Going back to this one, which is the most important one, is to do with the taking the pipes that are currently going in the wetlands. I was happy to, as I discussed again, cut those pipes, bring them back from the wetland, create a rain garden almost 20 feet long and 5 feet, and put the pipes in the rain garden, and grow the plants as per the requirements that you guys want me to, and happy to build that as well and grow it without any question. I know this is not as per the standards or the document that you want in this meeting, but I've put in all the information that was required. All I'm trying to do here is give my wife a bigger bedroom. That's all. Not growing anything, just extending the current bedroom. That's my whole thing. I think we talked about the length of the rain garden, which is almost 20 feet long, 5 feet deep, and with big 6-inch stones, surrounded with all the native plants that we just all talk about and are in the sheet that is provided by the government. And that's about it. I think that's my effort that I'm trying to say. So 4 points that you guys pointed, I'm trying to mitigate all 4 of them with the effort that we're trying to talk about. Thank you.
Sure.
So I think that I mean you've put a lot of thought into this. It's very evident. But I just want to step back and just very quickly go over the fact that you talked about this is grandfathered, but these aren't necessarily this isn't grandfathered things that are taking place here. You've unfortunately inherited some of them.
Inherited.
But
Sorry, wrong word.
But the things that are happening here occurred very recently. I mean, within the last several years. The stone along the side of the house. I mean, we aren't even talking about the cabana and the patio. That's all new too. But we aren't even getting into that. So we're just trying to deal with
Agreed.
the things that are direct issues, and that's the discharge from the basement going to the wetlands. And
Absolutely.
you're showing a rain garden in front of the house. I don't think you need to go to the front of the house. I think we were thinking that
It's
it would be in the
it's
rear.
not front.
It's
Yeah,
on
it is in
the
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 rear.
sketch that you showed, the landscaping sketch that you showed was
Oh,
it looks like that's the
that's
front of the house.
This is just from the.
right. That's just a presentation of it. It's
Okay,
not the
well,
real
I apologize.
picture.
It made me think you were thinking of putting it
No,
in the
no,
front
no,
of the
no.
house.
No. If you go a bit down,
Yeah.
a
The
bit
side
more,
eye.
please ignore that. This is the right thing. This is where it is. It's
Okay.
in the
All
back
right.
of the
That's fine.
house, not in the
S-
front at all.
So you're not gonna. So your rain garden, the size, the 20 feet is wonderful, but you're not gonna go 5 feet deep because you're gonna intercept groundwater. It just needs to be deep enough, 2 to 3 feet deep,
Okay.
with stone in it, so that you
Sure.
can put the water that's discharging from the basement into it, and allow it to settle out its velocity before it overflows across the lawn towards the wetlands. You're not going to
Sure.
be
No
capturing
problem.
it. You're not going to be re-infiltrating it, but we needed to find a way to dissipate some of the energy coming out of it.
Sure.
And it
No
can
problem.
go
I wrote
in
4,
the
5.
area where in front
Sorry.
of where the shed is now, even.
Correct. No problem. I'm happy. That was the place even longer. Built it as long as possible so that we can collect as much water as possible. 4 or 5 feet was something that I wrote, but if it is 3 feet, we can happy to do. Yes. Yeah, that place.
So Michael, you're pointing beside the garage, but I don't think that's a good spot because it's not. There's no cover. There's no. It'd
Michael,
be
a
nice
bit
to have
more. Yeah.
It might be
Where?
It was nice to have a more natural lawn between that and the wetlands.
Yep.
Up toward
So
that.
Yes,
natural
here.
lawn well, he's talking about,
Here.
there's a buffer zone here. And
Yep.
he's trying to
Yep.
create that 8 to or 10 or
8 to
12
10 feet.
Yeah, right, 8 to 10 feet here that we're trying to protect where it isn't protected. And then the question is whether you think do you care whether the rain garden or some sort of drainage, I guess, run it over to here, you're saying, Joyce?
Yep. I'm saying run it
Yes.
out back.
Yes.
You don't want it to cycle back into the basement, and you don't want it
Yeah.
to like erode the side
Okay.
yard. So if you can put it in the lawn.
Right.
Agreed. Exactly that place. Exactly that
Right,
place.
fine. I guess others can tell. In principle, at this point, these seems to address everything in a way. If we could just basically come up with a detailed, specific plan about where this is and something here. But I would say I see what other commissioners think. But in principle, what you're talking about works for me. So it's a matter of the next step of how we refine it or pin it down. But I'd like to see what other commissioners think.
I think in principle, these are the things that we asked about. But I'm interested to hear from Joyce what do we need in terms of details and plans? What does Ashish need to get so that he can actually wrap up his application?
Before you
Right.
answer, Joyce, I just want to know if anybody at the highest level, if everybody agrees with what Courtney and I just said, or whether people have other questions before we get to the nitty gritty of what we actually need to have a fifth.
The-
What others think?
The points raised seem like they are the right ones to me, and my questions are sort of the same ones that Courtney's been mentioning about how can we get this to a form where when we look at it, when it's all done, we will look at it and say, yep, what's here is what we intended.
Okay. Does anybody else have any issues with the bigger questions?
I do, just because I haven't walked the site. Is the topography as level as it appears to be in that like photograph in number 2, just gently sort of sliding away?
If I recall.
Yeah, and then it gets to the edge of the lawn and it drops down about 1.5 to 2 feet to the wetlands.
Oh, okay, but not a deep.
No, it's a very flat yard.
Okay.
Okay, so no issues at the major issues. So now we're down to how we, what Courtney just asked. How do we get this to a point of, so we can move this thing forward? What were we gonna say, Joyce?
So what about beside the garage? Normally one would have a lawn beside one's garage. And they'd put stone down, I'm sure, because when they built the cabana and the patio, that was the access they took. And this was the way to stabilize it.
So one more, Joyce, I don't think that is the garage. The garage is on the other side of the building.
I'm sorry, I apologize. On the opposite side from the garage. I'm sorry. Yes, in the
Yes.
gravel
So
area.
there, yeah.
Sorry, my apologies.
I have no idea why there is gravel here.
But I'm just
This
saying,
was
but that's not my issue, isn't it's so what do we ask them to do with it? I mean, now it's stone. It's not just gravel, it's stone. We have them take it up. Is there a strip of grass between, like, do we let them do half of it grass and then half of it plantings? Like, do that 10 to 12 foot strip along the edge and let him do lawn that edge and the house? Because he's going to have to go back and forth on that side.
Right, it's a matter, what's the width that you need here that's functional with lawn? Or maybe a little gravel path along the house or a little lawn before we can start vegetation to protect the wetland.
So what if we said, yeah,
I think that,
go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry. I think that line is the master bedroom line. And this area would be almost around 18 or 19 feet, if I'm not wrong. Yes, that exactly that one. You tell me what you want, I will get it done. It is as simple as it. You want me to put half garden, half vegetation? No problem. All I want to make sure is I have a small kid. he just runs around the house. So half garden, half grass, half vegetation, or almost 7-8 feet of vegetation, and then native plants and then garden. I can do that. Just to let you know, just beyond that gravel, there is a lot of moss. It's all moss. If you scroll a bit more, Michael, a bit down, sorry. Yes, exactly where the gravel ends, in the front, moving towards the front of the house. Yes, yes. And then there is a lot of moss there, like moss, and there are trees and everything there. But if you want, whatever you want me to put yes, it's all natural. It's not disturbed in that way. But absolutely, I understand there is a lot of stone here, which should not be. Happy to remove it, replant grass, soil it up, put native plants on this side, just not as adjacent to the house, like maybe after 7 or 8 feet or 10 feet, and after that, just native plants, no problem.
How are you going to access to install the foundation? What's the addition going on? It's going on sonotubes.
It's going on It's going on footings, so it's not going on there is no foundation. It's just footings.
So where are you?
Are you accessing this way or this way?
It's going. Yeah, it's gonna come from the side that the stone.
Yes,
where the gravel
it's gonna.
area is.
No, it's a full house, right? So it can actually come. If you want me to, for the moment when the construction is happening, you want me to access this way, I can do that. If you don't want me to do that, I can access from the other side, like fully where the mouse is going, like on the other side of the, yes, keep going that way.
You have to keep going
And
back, Michael, because you can't go over the septic
yes,
system and the patio.
yes, exactly. So keep going, go left, left,
Like,
left, left. Yes, like that, correct. Keep going that way and then bring it this way.
So if he installed a proper erosion control, it would seem that going across the area that we're already going to fix, the gravel area,
Yeah.
from the front right there, it seems that's going to have the least amount of impact on the buffer zone if he accesses from that side of the house.
Oh, from
We
this,
can
side.
definitely access from
Yeah,
Basically do all the work before the gravel is
right.
moved, essentially.
right, right. That would be helpful. I
Yeah,
can do all
I
the
can
work,
see that.
and then once
That
it
would
is
be a
done,
lot closer and a
remove
lot.
everything.
Okay,
Yeah, remove everything, fix everything, and then take all the stones away and redo the plantation there.
okay, so this is the corner, okay, this is the corner of the new road.
Correct.
Yeah, that would
Correct,
make a lot
exactly
more
that one.
sense, that you just access through here and have the erosion control. Okay, I have no problem with that. That would be practical. So, but I guess the question is whether in the field, whether we just need to. So what are you thinking that we could do I don't know what the plot, I can't remember the other one. I haven't gone back to the earlier meeting to see whether we had a plan that, are we thinking that aerial, trying to see where the plan is.
While you're searching, can we go back to my question to
Go to
Joyce?
the very bottom.
What we need?
This is the most detailed plan we have.
That's the most detailed plan.
Okay. So the question is, right, are we gonna need to, we basically gonna be handwriting and have dimensions written on this thing that says there's a 7, 8, whatever, some dimension of grass here. Then there's gonna be plantings going here along the thing there. The shed's gonna be moved and we're just gonna have a set of plantings here with a rain garden over here. And we're just gonna handwrite that.
My issue with this is that we're not supposed to be designing his project.
Well, he's gonna tell us what he can draw on it. We don't have to decide.
Can we go back to, I wanted to know what Joyce thinks we
Right.
need, an NOI.
Well, this is an NOI. So they filed an NOI, and this is the notice of intent. And we went into the first hearing with a notice of intent and discussed the things that we'd like to see. And then since that period of time, he's been working back and forth with his contractors without any, not contractors, consultants without any success to get the plan revised like we talked about. So that's the.
So, end of the day, do we need somebody to revise this plan that we were looking at to accommodate all these changes with the right numbers and everything? Is that what we need?
Well, that would be what we would request. I mean, that's what that's how we know, that's how you know and your contractors know how to build something. And that's when we go to compare it to what you've constructed at the end, we have something with which to compare it. So yes,
And that work can only be done by a site engineer.
No, it doesn't have to be an engineer. It could, well, it just needs to be somebody who's qualified. It could be the person who drew this plan the first time.
Site engineer.
Well, he's a land
Like
surveyor.
Colonial engineering team. Yeah. So we are saying only an engineer can add these changes to this plan.
One of the requirements, yes, you can't add something to somebody else's plan, first of all.
Right.
That can't be done. That's against the rules.
Right.
You can make your own sketches, and that's up to the commission as to whether or not they would accept something like that. But it has to be detailed enough so that we know what to compare it to. Like, if you feel you can make a sketch that shows, you know, where we're putting the plantings and how wide the path is, and I mean, then that's something that they can look at, where you're going to be putting the rain garden and what it's going to be constructed of. Typically, you know, someone who's doing this design will show a cross section of whatever and show how deep it's going to be. I'm not saying that this requires that. I'm just saying there's a certain level of detail that you have to provide so that we can permit it properly. That's all. I mean, this is something that DEP requires too, where, you know, it's one of the requirements for submitting a plan is that it gets signed by a land surveyor or a civil engineer, and perhaps you could provide additional information like we talked about tonight. If maybe between this meeting and the next meeting, you can put together a sketch and we can look at it and maybe see if we can't do some detail. I don't know. I need someone else to tell me what they think. Commission.
Well, I mean, he's gonna need certain level of sketches and whatnot for the next steps, right? With the building commissioner.
So this plan right here is one he can submit to the building department. He's got that.
Okay.
But when you're done, you're going to have to go back, and you still need to get an as-built. So when you're completed, you're still going to need to work with a professional to do an as-built plan for this, for so that you can get it removed from, you know, when we issue an order of conditions, it gets attached to your deed, your title, and
I understand.
and so in order to get that removed, we have to do a certificate of compliance, and that requires someone to do another topo of that area, another topographic survey of the area. So, I mean, at some point, you're going to have to go back and work with somebody because they have to certify that it was done in compliance with whatever we've permitted.
I guess I'm a little cautious on what level of hand sketching kind of thing we do. You know, it just in terms of it being detailed enough for a notice of intent. I mean, we have had hand sketches that were DEP was not happy with. Granted, they didn't have like a base level of, you know, surveying done, but
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of whether,
This isn't the latest plan, Michael. They did one that the next one up, they had contours on.
oh, the next one up in this,
Whatever the first one you had up.
oh, okay. Fine, this is, I was just looking in the NOI.
well, and also on our NOI, our instructions, I mean, what do we ask for? I guess I would like to just be consistent.
100%. Well, the question is whether,
So we normally ask people to specify, you know, you're giving up a strip. We want to show that on the plan. If you're gonna do some plantings between the house and the grass between the house, and then plantings half and half, we want to show that on the plan. The rain garden, you know, think in a scaled.
right, this is a scale drawing, and whether you can draw to scale, where are you gonna put certain things? To scale, like if it's gonna be 7 feet here of grass, you mark it to scale, and then if there's the area here that it's gonna be protected would be drawn to scale, and with even markings about what little circles as to where shrubs are gonna be. And then it's a scale what a rain garden would be. Question is whether we, given that there is this base drawing, whether if he drew to scale on here, the what's gonna be vegetated here with some markings as to what's gonna be there in terms of vegetation and what just a text of what the ground cover would be. Whether that would be something that is consistent with what with something that we could work with and use and DEP would take. It's worth trying that. Is that something you want to try, Ashish?
Absolutely. It's
might
not that I am, sorry,
go ahead.
No, go
No.
ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, you can also refer to, so our regulations kind of describe the things that we're looking for in proposed conditions, and they're not necessarily all relevant to your project. So you can just go through and kind of pick the ones that are relevant, but things like Joyce was saying for the rain garden, you know, that's typically something we'd ask for, you know, kind of like a cross section and some details and things like access, we'd want that shown on the plan. So it would be good to look at that 7.4.2, because it's kind of a list of all the things we'd be looking for on a plan.
I have a question about the rain garden.
Do we want to, actually, before you even say that, I'm gonna just stick out there for you, Steve, even. Do we have to call it a rain garden? Is this what we?
Yeah, I don't think it's a
I
real
think
rain
rain
garden.
garden is not necessarily what
Yeah.
you do, as opposed to sort of a kind of a detention, a vegetated basin.
A plunge pool.
A plunge pool. Yes, you could find your kid dancing, playing, flapping around in it. Yeah, I'm not sure it is that we need a rain garden, because that's a much more technical term, but go on, Steve. I was just gonna want to stick that in there, whether we feel we need it to be called, to be actually technically a rain garden.
Well, I was just looking at the suite of plants and I was wondering if that was truly was going to go in there, or that was sort of a bit of a placeholder for native plants that would grow well in those conditions. Some of them are obligate wetland plants, or some of them are also close to it. And I'm not sure it's going to be that wet there, so I don't know.
It won't be that wet there, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be an actual rain garden, nor do we need that. Just need
Some kind of a, I don't know, what do you call it then? A plunge pool? Is that
Well,
okay to call it?
it's just going to be a low spot with stone in it. Maybe,
Low
you know,
spot with
2 to
stone.
3
Detention
2 to 3 feet
area?
deep. What's that?
Detention, a small detention pond, what's
Yeah, you can call it that.
Detention
a
pond.
vegetated
It's a
detention pond.
settling basin.
Yes, a vegetated settling basin.
Perfect.
Well, so the
Thank you.
bottom is going to be full of stones that are going to be 6 inches or greater, and then, you know, the sides will be loam, and that you can plant the sides of it. Ultimately, things will grow up through the stone, but the idea is to have it lined with stone so that when the water comes out of the pipes, they have something to hit, and it will be below that would be. See, these are the little details that you're going to need to have on the plan, because below the stone, you're going to want some kind of landscape fabric so that it doesn't wash everything out.
I think what we're getting at is that it's a bit technical. You know, we'd also usually ask for like square footage of, you know, permanently altered areas to compare to the square footage of planted areas. So again, I think like Joyce said, you're welcome to give it a go. But generally I think that's why people go with a professional to prepare the
It's
plan.
probably a professional who could take this on. There's gotta be another firm that basically,
I don't think the commission is able to solve his issue for him. I think we've guided him on what we need. And it's also not up to us to design his project for him. I think we've given him a lot of good feedback here.
True.
Yeah.
We're dancing on the edge, the fine line of the fact that we have to review something.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for doing it. It's not. I need to just bring it up that it's not that I don't want to. I'm not working with an engineer to get it. Already spent $5,000 with somebody else to just do these plans.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about $5,000 right now that I've already spent to do these half-hearted things that we are talking about. That was the reason for me to take a stab at it and present myself to what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And I totally get the point that I need to go to a technical person and do it. Happy to do it, no problem. I just need to find the right person to pick it up, because it's if these are if Colonial Engineering, for example, is a certified person, and anyway, this is outside of my domain to talk here. But regardless of that effort, I get the point. You need so the takeaways from this is thank you for helping me out with giving me these pointers. The only thing that probably needs way more technical effort that needs to be written down is how does that water come out, and all that goes into that vegetated settling basin, and how that is written with all the narrow details, technical details that need to be in that document. I'm looking to find another engineer. If you guys, if somebody from the town or somebody has some recommendation that this is the person to go to, or recommendations of, hey Ashish, here is a list, go, if you can find somebody to work on this, that'll be fantastic. That's all I'm trying to figure it out. But if someone is exorbitantly going to ask me $5,000 to work on it more, that sounds like a bit of a heartbreaking effort from my side. That's all I'm trying to bring up.
Yeah, understood.
It's not realistic. I'm talking about if someone is charging $1,000 to draw a line, it hurts for me.
Sure.
The only thing that I would say is that working with the people you're already working with, if you started fresh with somebody else, they wouldn't necessarily be able to use what you already have. And you might be spending it all over again. So that's something to think about. And I understand this has been a very difficult situation for you, and I could tell just by the back and forth that we've all had.
Thank you, Joyce.
If you want to give it a go and kind of just, if you draw something and you want to show it to Joyce, it's kind of like a preview to see if that's going to include all the detail. I'm sure she can take a quick look at it to tell you like, yeah or no, like you have all the engineering details. It's magic. But I think Joyce has some good advice there about starting fresh is tough, but yeah, I totally feel it's a tough position to be in.
Thank you.
Okay. We can play with this some more, and we can try to figure out whether you gotta think about it more or play, or see what you can ask Joyce some questions on whether this is enough for tonight. And
we have 3 weeks. We have 3 weeks before our next meeting, Ashish. So you have some time. You have a little bit of time, not a lot, but a little bit of time to try and work some things out. So take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we're going to continue the hearing to the next to June 6th at, let's see, Knoll Crest.
8:05.
Think half an hour will be enough for them, or
actually no. How about 8:15?
Okay.
Was that a motion?
Yes, I move to continue this hearing to 8:15 on June 6th, 2024. Do I have a second?
I do.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Ashish, I just want to say thank you because you listened to everything the commission said and have made changes to the plan. And I know at this point it's just a matter of like getting it on paper appropriately. But you know,
And thank you so much. I appreciate you guys listening to me. This
Yeah.
makes a I was listening to all the other continuance, other meetings just before this, and I was like, what the hell, Ashish? Look at the detail everybody's presenting, and you have Word document going to these kind of smart people with
but
zero information on it.
no.
I
But
don't
you were
know.
super responsive and you clearly got all the things that we have been asking for. So that's very much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I second that. Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote. Michael, aye. Steve,
Aye.
Harry,
I,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Okay, good luck, Ashish, but as you say, thanks for working on it. Okay, last thing we have left here is, oops, for me to stop sharing. And there's the agenda here. God, everything got out of,
You weren't even sharing.
oh, I wasn't?
No,
Oh,
crazy.
somebody was.
Really?
no, that was me.
Can I ask a quick question? Now that it's just us chickens, is it ever possible on the drawing that's in the original or amended NOI to sort of draw a rectangle and then explode in a larger scale that section only and sort of keep the wetland markers, you know, the other elements as though you just took a Xerox and made it larger, and then show the 8 to 12 foot buffer and then some plantings and then some and just kind of fill that in when you have enough room to I just didn't want to ask that question in case you were going to say shh, stop
Joyce
that.
Joyce is a pro, but that sounds so legit to me.
So I think what happened was the plan got drawn as a certified plot plan, and then they realized there were wetlands, and they tried to take a very small scale. It's probably one or two was. It's a small scale, and tried to put too much information on it. And then when I asked them to put topography on it, I asked them for additional information, and they still kept it like you would need a microscope, magnifying glass to be able to see it. It was not well drawn, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Yes, the answer to
Okay.
your question is absolutely. You can blow up an area and make it.
Maybe that's a little conversation that can be had that would be of aid to him and let him make some progress. He's got a lot of detail in that original you know, topography and so forth, the layout, where the proposed footings are and all that good stuff. It's really just a little more from the lawn catchment basin back toward where the gravel is.
Michael,
Okay,
ready?
we're now gonna reopen the hearing on drafting changes for our Sherborn regulations. I'm close to putting everything together in one document. As I was doing it, I came up with a few things that I just want to go over. Let's see, I'm gonna show you a few things on the screen here that we could just look at quickly. Won't take long. Okay, where are the Zoom here? Share screen. Am I sharing a screen now?
Is this
Yes,
thing on?
indeed.
Yes.
Okay, on the left. This is actually from the, I was looking at our fees, which, it's been a long time since we came up with what we charge for the bylaw fees. It's not worth trying to figure out how that actually works for many of the categories, although I find it interesting that category 2 is sort of a global thing, but that's not something for today's lesson or today's discussion. What I wanted to go over this category 5 and category 6, one of which we already discussed. When I was looking at going through it, the ones above seemed fine. Category 5, we had this is for work on docks, piers, whatever revetment is, and dikes. This is the state fee, what we have here. We have in our bylaw now that when you do that, you have to pay $3,500, which seemed quite high for imagining docks, piers, and whatever, which I guess would only probably come out in Farm Pond. And I don't think anything would be that large. And so I was thinking that we could make it the same thing as the state, except do the $4 per linear foot, which is not going to be very much, but that we just have a minimum to just deal with an NOI on some dock work, whether it should be a minimum of 500, although I can't tell how complicated if somebody wanted to put in a dock or play with their dock. I don't know how complicated that gets. I guess I'd be curious what you, Joyce, would think would be a sort of a minimum fee that we might want to do for this, but not have a flat fee of $3,500, seemingly too high.
So is this going to be in addition to
Right.
your standard notice of intent fee?
No, this is a category under a notice of intent. It's a category 5.
Okay.
So this is not in addition. This is its own fee category, as you could see on the right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep. So when you do a dock, you're going to do your notice of intent, and then you're going to permit it with the state.
Right.
So $500. I mean, that's less than your category 1.
Right. So we're going to still have a bit of work on it. I just couldn't tell if it's less complicated because they're just doing it there, or whether then we can just.
Well, keep in mind that if someone's doing a dock, they're doing something on the bottom of a pond.
And they're also doing something on the shoreline.
Right.
Well, does the 3,500 seem too
Well,
high?
I think 3,500 seems too much, but maybe, at
You
least
could do
the
1,000.
same as the category 1.
Yeah, but it's going to be in the pond and in a resource area and on the side.
1,000 might seem more reasonable to me.
Okay. I mean, I don't think the $4 a square foot is ever gonna be the. I mean, I don't think that's going to amount to very much. Anyway,
What is that? I don't understand what per square foot of what? Of dock space, of area being
It says per
impacted?
linear foot, so not square feet. So I don't understand it either.
it's a linear feet. It's how far you go out into the water. Is all I'm guessing.
Right.
Hmm.
How long your dock is.
It's a
Yeah,
bar.
we've never had one.
Perimeter.
But
So that's funny.
yeah, you'd think it could be square feet too, based on not just that. I mean, we could make it something per square foot of dock. I mean, everybody's going to have at least a 2 or 3 foot wide dock, I guess, if it was 2 feet wide.
2 feet's not enough.
Right, 3 feet is even middle, so 4 feet would be equivalent of $1 a square foot.
Does
Is
the
what the-
Honestly, I'd be inclined to drop that. I think it's probably not gonna almost be worth it, depending on, I mean, it's not like people are building, you know, the New Jersey jetty off of Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's, you know, it's Farm Pond, and if you're talking about a nominal fee anyway, it's probably gonna be more of a pain trying to figure out how many linear feet we're talking about, than it's gonna be worth it to collect whatever the money is that's gonna be collected as a result of that determination.
Mhm.
Well,
I agree with
the
that. So
state-
having a
the-
flat,
The
the
state
state's
fee is the
state's
state
one's,
fee.
so we can't change that. But I think, but I agree with just pick a flat value, whatever it is.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay. Equal to a,
I mean,
um,
in theory, category 5, I'm guessing that all the docks are gonna be very cheap, because like Matt said, we're not having like, you know, piers like Jersey Shore going out to nowhere, whatever. So just,
okay, so are we doing, does $1,000 seem reasonable?
I don't know if it's reasonable. I don't know how much work.
Well, we have that kind of, we get that kind of money. Whether it's similar to a regular NOI.
Could you remind us what a category 1 and our category 2 is?
Category 2 is like a new home. Category 1 is a lot of the ones were,
Like
Like
an
the ones we
addition
did
or a
tonight.
pool. A category 1 is addition, a pool, a septic system. A category 2 is a
category
house.
1. Yeah.
Joyce can correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems very much like a category 1 kind of, it's not reinventing a wheel, put in a little.
No, I mean, it's gonna be, I mean, people are allowed to put docks in, but you just have to look at how are they putting them? Are they drilling it? Are they taking
Right.
it out? Is it temporary?
Right.
And what's on the banking and how are they gonna get to it? And
So
it's
I
the
don't,
how are they gonna get to it? I'm assuming, you know, most of the places on Farm Pond have access.
but I'm saying for the commission and the agent, the amount of work.
It's about the same as it would be the same as a house or a category 1 or category 2.
Okay, I'm in favor of going with category 1.
I would do more than that since I see it as between the two.
Split the difference?
Well, the average of the difference would be closer to $1,500, but that's, what do other people think?
How is it more work?
What? How is it more work?
Really
It's
simple.
more, I don't think it's more work. I think it's more risk of impact. So we would have to be more careful.
There'd be more review.
More
Yeah,
review.
like Jacob said. Yeah.
Okay.
So 1,500 seems, sure.
I'm like, there's a shading component, and then there's a whether there's an anchor and land underwater. All right, that's
Oh, we
fine.
do it. So what are we doing? 1,500? Is that what I hear?
No,
1,000?
1,500
That
going
works for
once?
me.
1,500 works for you.
1,000,
What?
1,000.
1,000 for Courtney.
Um,
Jacob, what are you voting for?
I'm on the,
I was saying 1,500, but I don't think I'm going to object to any of these values.
Okay, Matt?
I don't know. Does this apply to new docks? Does it also apply
Any
to
dock.
work on existing docks?
Yes.
Well,
No,
not
no,
necessarily.
no,
no,
No? Why not?
no. This is for new docks.
Why doesn't
Um,
it work on existing docks?
it doesn't.
So work on existing docks is different. In fact, we did one of those, where they have to replace the boards or the footings or whatever. And
Right.
that would be filed. I forget what we filed it under. I think there's a category that says, and
Well,
no
what
other,
categories? You could have done it
nothing
as
else.
site work without a house or something like
It
that.
would be under 2J.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Because it's not a new dock, you're repairing an old dock. Now the question always is if Farm Pond is a great pond, I mean it's a great pond, but it's also over 10 acres, and therefore needs a permit from the state.
So they
And
have to go.
that's been the case since before the early like the mid 1800s.
That's
So
like
I mean,
chapter
ahead.
91, so they have to go to the harbor master.
Right, this genie.
Yeah. Meaning.
well, no, so it needs, so you file your notice of intent, you put your application together to the state, has to be signed off by the selectmen, the planning board, conservation. You send it to the planning boards of all the surrounding towns, and then you ultimately are working with a DEP permit, and they advertise it for a certain period of time.
Wow.
Is this for a
So-
new dock or for repair?
It's not that hard, it just takes a little time.
Is that only for a new dock?
It's for a new duck.
Yeah, but so what the thing is, I think a lot of the docks on Farm Pond
Don't
They-
have
they-
permits,
not have all the permits that they required.
nor has anybody stopped them and asked for it.
Right. So
Does it make sense then to add a category to one that says routine maintenance of existing dock? And then put in category something else, establishing a new dock? And just distinguish them. So you
I'm
don't
not
pay.
sure whether we could edit this. This is a state document. These categorizations, whether we've never tried to add or modify it. I don't know if anybody.
There's something in there that's not, it can be captured under 2J.
Right, 2J is a hefty fee, or
Right.
I'm
Or
wondering
why is it 1A?
whether we could just do it as 1A. I guess I would do it like a repair of a dock under maybe 1A,
Mhm.
not, they're just repairing the,
Yeah,
Right, replacing boards that are split or,
right.
one bit of flotation that fails and needs
don't-
replacing.
I don't think they need a permit for that. I'm gonna throw that out there.
Fine, let's not go into that. Let's just finish
Oh,
category
boy.
5. This is a new dock, okay, everybody? Okay, if it's a new dock, are we happy with the 1,000 or the 1,500? That's what it's down to. Matt?
For a new dock, I'd be okay with the 1,500. I'd probably endorse 1,000, but I wouldn't argue with the 1,500 for a new dock. Obviously, if we were carving out, when Terry's the dock czar and she carves out a new category, I would be inclined to, charge a significantly reduced fee for maintenance, but for a
Yeah.
new dock, I'm okay with either.
Matt? Kurt, Steve?
I'm fine with either 1,000 or 1,500 either way.
This is not the kind of discussion we want.
All right, then I'm going 1,000. I'm down for 1,000.
Okay, Kurt, what are you going for?
Join us for
And
1,000.
Steve, how about you,
Um,
Steve?
I really don't have much of an opinion, so if it comes down to me, then I'll choose one.
Okay, we'll see. I think I'm at the 1,500, but
All right. Well,
where's Steve?
I'm here. I hate to say it, but I don't have a strong preference either. I have one question. Do people definitely get a permit before they put in a dock or
We're not
modify
talking
dock?
about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna go find him. Okay. Joyce, do you have a strong feeling one way or another, or you could?
I don't have, I would say 1,000 sounds reasonable.
Okay, I was about to say we'll just do 1,250. To split it since nobody could do it. Okay,
That's the split of the split.
the split of the split. Okay, I'll round it off to 1,200.
So do you want to remove all the rest that says 3,500 and maybe reduce to? And just,
No, I'll have to reword. It's worded
Okay.
differently in our regs. But this is just
maybe eliminate, maybe.
no, that's not the reg. This is just for you guys. This is
Right,
just.
right. But just to say,
Now, the
this
last issue
is
is,
where you landed us.
yeah, she wants to make sure that you can understand your notes when you go.
that's
to look.
true. That's not a bad idea. Okay. Category 6, an ANRAD, which is really not an NOI, but it's weird that they have it here under NOI materials, but they also have a whole separate form 4A, where they have a similar cost structure. So I'll have to reword this. Okay. We used to have this text here. I'll make it larger. This was the motion we had before. This is what we have now. And then right here is what I am proposing. I'm sticking in a minimum. All read it and comment, especially Joyce, I'm curious.
All right, I'm gonna beg for interpretation. $2 in the first case per linear foot of what?
Wetland line.
Perimeter?
Delineation, the delineation.
Okay,
So I'd be almost inclined, instead of saying property of 3 acres, a wetland line of 500 feet or less, or 200 feet or less is $2 per linear foot, with a minimum. I rather than saying for a property, I know that's what we did before, but I would say lineal feet of
The
'cause
reason
it's
I
not
like,
this.
but I'll just add to you, the reason I want area that I could be convinced otherwise. One value of having area is the fact that this is not just simply checking their line. It's walking the entire property.
Oh, okay.
Make
yeah.
sure there's no other resource areas that they missed, or whether there's
I'm-
2 different resource areas.
I don't disagree with that. I
Is
just
the
don't want to. I mean, you could still end up with a lot of work for a 3-acre parcel.
the minimum of 200 actually might be too low, because at the very least it's a site walk and a meeting and a review the plans, and I wonder if it's actually more work than that.
Oh, yeah, right. This is just,
right, and the maximum perhaps is insufficient as well.
well, yeah, I mean, with an RDA, with a ANRAD at a meeting, just realize that we don't do anything much other than the fact that we rely on who reviewed the delineation. And that
All right,
they
so
got all
you'll
the
walk
resource
those.
areas correct. We're not doing it unless somebody wants to go along with our agent. But it's essentially all work by our agent. And we're trusting that the agent has got both the locations and the different resource areas correct.
What does our agent think?
I mean, I could
So
make
the
it high.
reason the reason this happened, just for the people who are new, is that what we had for fees were so high that people were finding workarounds rather than do an ANRAD. But these are more reasonable, and as far as you're above the state fees, which is good. I think these are things that we talked about, and I think they're reasonable.
Yeah, I added in the minimums. We didn't have the minimums before.
I think, yeah, well, like what Joyce said, before it was too expensive, so people were filing notices of intent. And they didn't actually necessarily
No, they
even
were
want to,
filing requests for determinations of applicability.
you know, and it wasn't even that they wanted to do, they didn't have work planned out yet. They wanted to just fix the wetland line and yeah, so
Well, they didn't do RDAs. They did NOIs with
No.
a little bit of work.
They started with doing RDAs, and then they were doing. Then other people came along and were doing NOIs with a little bit of work, pretend.
But- right. But either way, this is the route we would prefer that they take is,
Right.
you know, not to make the fees exorbitant, that this is reasonable and that the amount of work that the agent does to fix the wetland line, and plus then they have a wetland line and they can make their plan afterwards and they don't have to file some kind of nonsense project when that's not really what they're gonna do.
I will add one thing for those who probably don't know, in the end, let's say like this $200. That means that that there was less than 100 to get down to the $200. That means there's less than 100 feet of delineation.
Right.
It's being checked. Twice the length of your house. Many houses. So that's why the 200 sort of seemed to work, and 3 acres didn't seem like a lot to have to march around to do. And for all of you to know, then, and maybe many of you don't, that this state fee here of $2 a linear foot for each resource area, which doesn't exceed 200 for a single family or 2,000 for the other, we would get about $110 of this $200
Hmm.
in our state filing
Oh,
fee.
that's split up further. Okay.
So essentially, just so you all know that we get a percent, we get roughly 50% of our. It doesn't amount to much in some cases. In this case, it's a little bit more. So therefore, the minimum is going to be maybe closer to 250 or 300.
We get 50% of the filing fee for DEP plus $12.50.
Woohoo, off to Tahiti.
So in the and for the other ones, you can get another $1,000 up to, if it's really a lot of square
Okay.
footage. I mean, a lot of linear foot.
So
Whatever.
given this discussion, I will withdraw my earlier comment of it seeming like the minimums were too low.
Me too. For the max.
What are other people thinking about the fees?
I'm not really thinking anymore.
Okay, well, we'll get to revisit this when we have the next hearings with the draft. I just want to know whether this is good enough to put in a draft.
I don't have a good feel for this stuff, so I'm gonna really defer to others.
I mean, Joyce, if you're walking a 10-acre site, I mean, I assume whatever, it takes an hour or so to scour it just to see if there's anything around there, and then it's a matter of doing any digging if there's much there.
I'm so happy that you think I can walk that quick, but yes.
A few hours.
I would say that these are reasonable. What you've amended this to are reasonable.
Okay,
Bada bing, bada boom.
good. Okay, this will be in the draft. We could always, if somebody has an inspiration later, we could do that. Let's see, on the other things left, put in a separate ANRAD. This is our final draft for the other stuff. Increase the site visit to $40 from 30. And well, you guys can read it all here. We did reduce on an extension of an order of conditions to 1/2 of the NOI fee. Although, but we don't necessarily have to extend it anyway. It's if granted, so that if it's an old one or something, we have all these reasons here to deny. They're just trying to get around doing a new one. Okay, you guys can read all this in the next version. Okay. We have completed what what I have today, and I'll get out a new draft in the next week or so that I've been putting together with everything. Okay, when do we want to continue this hearing to
8:20.
Okay, fine.
And the warrant is now in the folder. Not to prolong this.
We'll go look at it in a second. Okay, I move that we continue this hearing until 8:20 on June 6th, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Courtney.
I
Did I hear Matt?
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Okay, let's go, stop sharing the screen here. And warrant is for the warrant,
It is
folks,
for
is
postage.
from last, it's from the last time here. It is essentially, oh, okay. About $12 for mailing cost that Deborah has for doing things. Okay, so that's not much there. And then the last thing is there something on as a site issue? Is there a site issue that we need to deal with in terms of the railroad? Let's see. Maps provided. Okay. I guess we have to go review this. Wetland stuff, this is what you did last year, Joyce? Doing this under
I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that wasn't last year, but I do,
Yeah.
Joyce did get to ride on a train.
I got to ride the little train thing.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean the car that
The car, yeah.
that
Yeah.
goes up in the air?
because I remember that because I was very jealous.
Okay, so there. So I guess we should go review that. Just to make sure that they got it right. And I can complain about what they have by me. Okay. This is something we'll have to look at separately and see whether we have to put it on the next agenda. Okay. In that case, unless I missed anything, is there anything else anybody has before we adjourn? Hearing nothing, I move to adjourn at 9:29.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Kurt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Bye.
Terry,
Aye.
Jacob.
Hi.
Meeting adjourned.
Jacob's dog.
Right.
Okay.